Hello everyone, my name is Paul Third and this week I want to discuss immersive mixing on headphones. I've got the Ollo S5x and I've got the Sony MDR-MV1. Both claim to be suitable for mixing immersively and also say they are suitable for getting the kind of immersive experience if you're like listening on Tidal and you're listening to Dolby Atmos and Sony 360 mixes. But how do they actually sound? These are quite interesting because they come individually calibrated, which basically means that they get made overseas, but when they come into the Ollo factory, they are individually measured and a calibration file is made. Essentially, long story short, it comes with a plugin. You type your serial number in and it gives you the correct calibration for these headphones, which puts them within a dB of their reference target. I'm pretty sure stock, it's about 2 dB tolerance, but with the plugin puts it to a dB of a tolerance. I would have to say there is an element of an immersive sound. What the Ollos do really well is they have a way of bringing the rear information just kind of behind your ear. These are kind of like pushed more as immersive mixing, but I actually found its best use to be with like room simulation. There is a whole thing with Waves NX and stuff that's kind of like got a little partnership. However, I think Waves NX sounds fucking terrible. It sounds fake. It sounds plasticky, whatever you want to call it. I've done videos and good comparisons and it just doesn't sound great. However, right, I use realphones and I have to say, right, these in combination with realphones, right, and again, no EQ, just using these with realphones, is the best realphones has ever sounded. By default, it's got like their normal room setting and they recommend normal. If you set it to live, my God, the whole thing comes alive. What it does is it puts the speakers like right there, right where they're meant to be, and the live setting just gives it this width. And it's funny because out the box stock, these sound weird. It sounds like the image is right there, like it's really right at your ear, like it's almost like it's like super wide panned. But when you put it in conjunction with realphones and then in the DAW, especially if you use the calibration plugin, it sounds even better. Honestly, as much as they're like it's only a dB, whatever the calibration was for my specific headphones, it worked. If you use these with realphones, my God, I've not listened to Slate VSX. But honestly, I don't know if this would maybe give Slate VSX a run for its money. I really need to try out Slate VSX. I've asked and they've gave me that, which obviously makes me very, very sad. But obviously, you know, if you ever want to change your mind, then please send me more free shit. I've heard very good things about it. And yeah.
Just send it.
I know, I have no shame. But whatever. It's funny how like they're pushed for like immersive, but I think they are amazing with room simulators. Like it's almost like they are created for room simulation. And I do have to say that like the whole rear information thing that it does is really, really cool. Like I was listening to Netflix films that are like Dolby enabled, and if you're listening to like the background information, so if there's traffic or if they're in an office and they've got stuff going on at the back, the rear information is quite audible, way more audible than even like these, which have got a super wide sim stage. Now it's interesting, like see these don't work in Dolby Atmos that well. It's too wide a sim stage and the decisions don't really make sense. It's just a little bit disjointed. Where with these, the decisions make more sense. And the tuning is unbelievable. Like it's funny because if you listen to stereo, I'm like, nah, it sounds weird, the placement's off, they just sound odd. But in Dolby Atmos, it sounds right. However, and there is a however, they are kind of limited in their sound stage. As much as they do a decent job, and I will say it's a decent job, immersively it's a decent job. They've got a good, they do well for the rear information, really good punch, really well tuned out the box, like really well tuned. However, there is a set of headphones that do the immersive thing, and it's these. These are basically Sony 360 headphones. And like the frequency response of these headphones are like, audiophiles were fucking going daft.
These sound too toppy. The frequency response is all over the shop. I'm listening in stereo and it sounds so toppy. It's just so
out the box stereo, the tuning just sounds really, really off and muddy. However, you listen to a Sony 360 mix, my God, the tuning makes sense, the top end makes sense, it all makes sense. But what's interesting is that in Dolby Atmos, the immersive effect still works, but the tuning's off, which I found interesting. In Dolby Atmos, it sounds muddy. And if you look at the frequency response of these headphones, you're like, yeah, no, like no wonder. But it's really interesting that in Sony 360 mixes on Tidal, you don't hear it. And just, like, honestly, the EQ makes sense. I was listening to Flowers by Miley Cyrus, because there's playlists on Tidal that give you like top 50, like in Sony 360, Dolby Atmos. You could hear almost as if the top end was going to the strings in the back. And in the mix, it makes sense, and you could hear this lovely top end of the strings that come about here, where in these, it sounds dark and you can't really hear the strings. It's like the strings are missing the top end. There is a reason why these are like tuned the way they are tuned. What they do lack is they do lack punch, and they are a little bit on the relaxed side for transients, where listening to immersive mixes, this is upfront, close, super, super punchy. These are really, really wide and relaxed, and you just really get that feel. And I would say these are the feel. You get more of the punch, but you get just the feel of immersiveness with this. Because the soundstage is wider, they do manage to place the rear image a little bit further back. So the Ollos are like kind of here, but the Sonys are like here. The Ollos do the immersive thing, but in a very limited small bubble. Almost kind of see like this as if you were listening to immersive in a fucking caravan or something like that. But it's like super, like you've got like, no, you get really small rooms, but they've not got them on the ceiling, but they've got them on top of the speaker. You know what I mean? It's kind of giving you that kind of really, really small, like, Atmos kind of effect. That's kind of how I would describe these, where these sound like you are listening to like a surround mix in a big room with like height. However, right, what I am going to say is that they, in terms of like immersiveness, i.e. like height, like ceiling speakers, they're not there yet, and I don't think they ever will be there, right? I've listened to like Dolby Atmos mixes, and when you have the ceiling speakers, you do kind of get that feeling of height, and there is just a little bit of a difference. Even these still feel that they're kind of capped a little bit. But I am going to tell you, I much prefer listening to really good Atmos and Sony 360 mixes on these two, especially these. For Atmos mixes, I have got an EQ that I use in Windows that I basically tailored the low end to Harman. And so like I can take out that low kind of mud, that low mid mud that I hear, and kind of raise the sub. Because that's meant to be a Dolby Atmos mix. You've got a 7.1.4, the one being the sub. So I want the sub in. So yeah, honestly, Dolby Atmos mixes with that EQ sounds amazing. I know a lot of you don't like it, but see when you hear an amazing Atmos mix or an amazing Sony 360 mix, I swear to God, it is like unbelievable. When it's done right, you could hear for yourself the vision and the way it can go. A great example is a song called Labour by Paloma Paris, and that's a phenomenal song. I never ever liked the stereo mix, and I always felt it was a bit of a cluttered mix, but it was almost like it was made for Atmos. And honestly, see, when I listened to it on these, I was blown away on how much the mix made sense, and I enjoyed the song more, and I felt the song more. And what's interesting is that as much as I was like, I quite like these were just incredible. And it was the separation where at the end, there's a bit where she breaks it down and she's got like the backing vocals. I think it's like two different backing vocals and the main vocal, and it could get very cluttered. Where in these, I could just make them out if I listen hard enough, and I could still hear them. But see, on these, I don't even need to listen hard. I can just hear it's got the space, it's got the separation, and I could just hear all the vocals, like all the vocals placed effortlessly. I don't need to work. Sometimes I think with the sound stage of these, you need to work a little bit, where with these, you don't even need to work. Yes, tuning-wise, Dolby Atmos, they don't sound great. EQ does do sound better. These do have better punch, and they are better tuned out the box, where you get a more kind of immersive feel, better sound stage. You get the immersive feel with them. and they sound amazing. Is it better than speakers? No, it's not better than speakers. Is the tech going to get better? I can only imagine the tech's going to get better. And there you have it. My name's Paul Third, and that's my experience with immersive headphones. If you like the video, like the video. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. And I'll see you again whenever I see you.